She's a longtime actress, writer, and director. Her new film, which will be in theaters, or is in theaters now, is called Holy Days. As we go to the main camera right here, back for the fourth time, our returning champion, Nat Boltt, here to join us again on Our City Tonight. Welcome back.
Thank you so much for having me again.
You're quite welcome.
Oh, it's great. Well, you know what? You've gone through all these great TV series and movies, and now you are writing and directing. I want to jump right into Holy Days. You accumulated some pretty outstanding award-winning actors to come onto this project. Tell us how that came about.
Well, I wrote the screenplay. It's an adaptation of a very famous book by Dame Joy Cowley. And, you know, you can't make a good film from a bad script. That's just the rule. And so I really worked for many years on making that script sing. So when we got it into the hands of actors of that standard, like Miriam Margolyes, Judy Davis, Jackie Weaver, I was hoping that they would go, this is quality writing and a role that would appeal to someone of my stature. And luckily it did. Miriam came on first, and then Judy, and then Jackie.
Walk our viewers through this story. This is essentially, as we said off camera, kind of a road picture with a great driving plot. Explain what happens. This is set in 1974.
Yeah, 1974 New Zealand. So it's got that real nostalgia. It's summer holidays. And it's a road trip where these three elderly nuns, they live in this decrepit convent, which is falling to pieces, and a property developer comes in and tries to snap it up. And the only way they can think of trying to save it is by going to visit their friend, who is an ex-nun turned lawyer on the South Island of New Zealand. That means they have to leave the north, go all the way down across the ferry, across the ocean, and find her. And then little Brian is one of their biggest fans. He's a little kid who's been hanging out at the convent because he doesn't want to be near his dad's new girlfriend, played by the evil moi.
Penelope turned to Liz.
To Liz, yeah. Still a redhead, always evil, but not really that bad. He just can't stand her, and so he hops in with the nuns, and they do a Little Miss Sunshine type road trip down to the South Island of New Zealand, all the way to the Alps.
Wonderful. Well, New Zealand is so beautiful. That is your hometown. You said that you were from Christchurch.
From Wellington.
From Wellington,
yes.
And then they go to Christchurch.
That's
so
right.
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly. Got to keep that straight.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit more about the amazing young boy who plays.
Yeah.
Brian.
So Elijah Tamati, he was 9 when we found him. And we were looking for a kid who could hold his own with these veteran, iconic, multi-award-winning actors. And I thought we'd be looking for years, but we found him, I think, almost in the second week.
Wow.
And we'd looked at all these really, really good kids, but it's to lead a film for 4 to 5 weeks and hold your own and be on set every single day takes real passion for acting. And in walked Elijah with his mum, who actually ends up playing his mum in the film. And they had prepared this audition. He already knew what it meant to work hard as a lead actor, and they just nailed it. Not a dry eye in the house.
You know what's great too is watching the credits. This really is I say this glowingly and complimentarily, is that it's a co-production. It's a Canadian-New Zealand co-production, so you've got a lot of big names involved in that, and that really is how these kind of movies get made.
That's right, yeah. And also, at the moment, it's really difficult for independent films. Everybody knows that it's been a tough time, COVID strikes. And a lot of risk aversion. And so sometimes you have to have a co-production where you can access the resources of 2 countries to knit together your full budget.
You also wrote a song.
I wrote a song.
I noticed that. That's
noticing.
incredible. I didn't know you were musical too.
Well, it's always been a dream. And, you know, when you have a film like this, you want people to have that 70s flavor and keep the road trip moving forward. It's so soundtrack driven. And the final song of the movie, I wanted a real disco tune. And because it's an independent film with a smaller budget, we couldn't afford a recognizable needle drop track. So I kind of went, I'll write you a disco song. And so I wrote it, and the composer arranged it, and we have an incredible singer called Tammy Nielsen, who is a big Canadian New Zealand star in her own right. She's just been touring with Willie Nelson and Bob Dylan. Yeah, and
just those
little guys.
Wow.
And so she sang it for me, and she's got a number of her own tracks in the film, which she did because she just adores the cast.
That's incredible. You know, one of the things that we've talked about before on the show is that a long time ago when we first met you, you're doing well as an actress, but you're also charting that next act.
Yeah.
And I say this sadly in that this is something that actresses have to confront more than actors, which is awful. But is that you were looking for a second chapter, that you need to, and when you got into the Warner Brothers school, that was a big step, but it also showed you're preparing for the next 20 years of what you're doing in this business.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that you have to step down as an actor, but for me, I was always frustrated as an actor because I knew that I needed to do more. I loved being on camera. I loved that sort of the thrill of being in front of the camera, but I was also fascinated by the whole process of how do you create this? How do you, if you're, actors love to complain about how things didn't turn out the way they'd hoped, but then how do you remedy that? Which is, okay, try do it yourself. So I'd already done that with short films and music videos. We spoke about the one with Victoria Anthony. And then I did this, but not only did I write and direct it, I wanted to create roles for actors, female actors of any age. And so I specifically chose this project to show people you can be brilliant at any time, and the fact that Hollywood is male-dominated and ageist and sexist doesn't mean that that's what we have to go with.
Right.
It needs to be subverted, and that's what Holy Days is.
Yeah, you really, I would say the film, as you defined it, is really about celebrating life and aging with a lot of humor attached.
Yeah, and friendship across all barriers. It doesn't matter your age, your gender, your beliefs. You can always find something in common, and especially at a time like this where everybody is fighting, it feels like.
Yeah.
Why not go back to what we have in common and again subvert what's going on? Do we have to be fighting? No, we can also go and enjoy an incredible time at the theatre with our friends, with our family, and just remember what the good stuff is.
Well, speaking of theaters, in theaters now, Holy Days is, and what's great too, because you've got these part of your production. Look forward, if you miss it in theaters, look for it on Crave and then Gem here in this country.
Yeah, you'll be able to watch it for a long time.
Great to have you back.
Thank you so much for
good
the
to see you.
you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.